Hey y'all, welcome back to Teaching with Tenia. This is my channel. Welcome to my channel. I know I have a lot of new subscribers, so welcome. Go ahead and answer the question down below. I'm going to do question of the days. I would love to get to know you guys, but welcome to my channel. On this channel, basically, I am taking you guys along my journey of becoming a teacher and the whole process of that. Trust me, it's been a lot, but hey, we're here. And it's officially summertime, so I hope you guys are safe, doing well, have vacations lined up, all of that. I just hope you guys are doing well. Like I mentioned before, it is the summertime, so a lot of people are moving jobs, staying at jobs, leaving jobs. We'll talk about that in another video. But I have a lot of friends, teacher friends, all of that are looking for jobs right now or during their interview process. So I have already filmed a video on how I got hired in my teacher process journey. So I'll link that in the cards above here. But I want you to be able to get a job as well. So in this video, I am letting you guys know a lot of teacher questions, a lot of interview tips, and basically questions and answers that you could be prepared for. However, with my last video and this video, it's probably like 60 questions that can help you during your interview. But I still want you to be authentic to yourself. And remember that just because I answered a question a certain way or this question was even asked a certain way, do question the best way you think that will benefit you to get the job and tailor it to that school. So with that being said, let's start the interview questions. Questions. You may only have time to be answering 4 or 5. I'm just throwing these out there for you so that you can think through your head of, how would I potentially answer this question, because you really don't know what you're going to be asked. And of course, you have to tailor these questions to your school. The answers and the questions to your school, and depending on what demographic, what type of school, public, private, just tailor it to you. These are just questions that you should possibly think about before you get asked and you're stumbled. That's what I want to prevent in this video. No blank stares or stumbling over questions, because I'm here to prepare you. So, starting off with the first question that you may be asked during your interview, what are some characteristics of an effective teacher? Whatever teacher mode they're looking for, what characteristics do you think might fit into that? Or what characteristics may you have that makes you an effective teacher? Go ahead and think about that. You may want to list 1, 2, or 3 things that make you an effective teacher or that are characteristics of an effective teacher. Another question may be, what qualities have you learned that will help the team that you'll be teaching on, or how may your skills that you've learned throughout life or in your teaching career, or maybe even during student teaching, that may help you and this team as you teach? Like, what basically, why should they hire you? Another question is, how have you integrated technology, or how do you plan to integrate technology into your classroom? I like this question a lot because it talks about your supervisor. If they, the hiring team or whatever, called up your supervisor, what would your supervisor say about you? Hopefully positive things. And what would they say about you as a teacher, as a worker, as a person? What do you think your supervisor would say about you? So be prepared to communicate that to your hiring team. The next question is, how do you handle discipline? This was actually asked in my interview. And in my interview, I talked about during student teaching how I created a behavior chart for a particular student to help them realize what their goals are, what is appropriate behavior, what is not appropriate behavior with the pictures. So I was able to talk about that in my portfolio and during my interview process. These next few are probably a lot more open-ended than you would like. And I think open-ended questions, they just want to see where your head's at. It can be nerve-wracking, but I think they just want to see where your head is at. So the next question is how do you know that your students are learning? I feel like as teachers, sometimes you could be teaching your heart out. As teachers, you could be teaching your heart out, but it may be throwing spaghetti on a wall. How do you know that your students are learning? And another question in here is, how do you assess your students? And that is a video that I did as well, so I can go ahead and put those in the cards above. The best ways to assess your students that may not even be for a grade. I know me and Kelly talked about that in the interview I did with her, so if you haven't checked that out, go ahead and check that out as well. But how you know that your students are learning, basically assessments drive schools. Unfortunately, whether it's a test formal assessment and formal assessment. They just drive schools. So be prepared to answer how you plan to assess your students. So another question may be, what did you learn about yourself during student teaching? For this one, student teaching is an up and down roller coaster. So you should be learning and reflecting on yourself, your students, all of that. But during this particular question, you want to basically talk about what you learned about teaching, what you learned about yourself, and how that correlates to what you learned about yourself and you as a teacher, if that makes sense. This question I'm not sure of. My teacher prep program asked it to me, so I'm going to field it to you guys. What is a visual representation of your class? Like a symbol or a word or an image. I feel like with this, they want you to basically see where your head is at again and how you would describe your class, whether it's good, positive, bad, whatever. They just want to see where your head's at. The next question is, how do you meet the needs of diverse learners? Of course, maybe you guys know this, maybe you have not known this, but there is no average learner. We have been taught that, and quite frankly, I had to unlearn that. Like, this is who I'm tailoring my lessons towards. By the end of the day, there's no average learner. There's no one size fits all for everyone. So how are you meeting the needs of people that may be the outliers, or the students that may be the outliers that don't learn like a majority of your class? How do you plan to meet those needs of those students? The next question is, how would you motivate your learners, whether it is giving them treats, rewards, points, systems in your class? How do you plan to meet the needs of reluctant learners, maybe learners that maybe have not had a good idea of school, or just realize that school may not be for them, or they've been having self-talk in their head that, hey, I'm not good at school, therefore I'm not going to try in school, of that. How do you plan to meet that student? That's what I think of a reluctant learner, but I don't really like that word reluctant because everybody likes to learn something, I feel like. Some more teaching related questions. They may ask, what is a lesson that went well for you? What is a lesson that didn't go well for you? And how did you learn from that? And another question also can be, what are 3 words that your students would describe you as, 3 words your supervisor would describe you as, your principal or wherever you previously taught? What are 3 words that they would describe you as? Because I feel like with this, nobody wants to work in an environment or with a person that's negative all the time or doesn't see the positive in kids. So make sure you highlight that in this answer. This is asked to another teacher. Shout out to Miss Kirby. What books have you read recently? And she had just got out of a student teaching day, and she said like the farm animals or something that she read in class, but this was referring to professional books that you've read, and it was just hilarious. Everyone started laughing because you would assume professional books, but she just went to the literally last book that she read. But the question is, what books what's the last professional book that you've read or last book that you read, just to make sure you are a constant learner and you haven't stopped learning. Because I don't want this video to be too long, I'm just going to read off the rest of the questions and interject here and there. I don't know if I'm going to put them across the screen but I may put them in the description box so you guys can read them for yourself and prepare as well. What are some things that you have shown to take initiative or be creative with your students? So give an example of you being creative and taking initiative. The next one is, if I spend the day in your classroom, what would I see? This could be like the way your class is arranged or how you plan to implement your routines, procedures, basically why you do what you do in your classroom. How do you plan to involve parents in your classroom? How frequently will you communicate with them? That's a great question to think about. Just even preparing for next school year, like how do you want parents to be involved in your class? The next one is, describe a challenging experience you've had with a colleague and explain how you resolved it. Basically, I know some people can go on a rant with this question, but I'm preparing you now. Just state the problem, try to be really objective with it, not point fingers or blame on the other teacher or your colleague, but instead find like the silver lining in that situation and how you resolved it, how you basically communicated well through that situation despite whatever the issue was. I also want you to think about going through your head of a normal school day, what your English block will look like, what your math will look like, what your social studies ELA block will look like, because you don't know what you're being hired for or what grade level or how you would tailor that lesson or content area for that grade. But go through and think through how your morning routines would be, your circle time, whatever happens during a school day. Go ahead and think about that so that when they ask you, how do you think this will look like? How do you think this will look like? How do you think your routines will look like? How do you plan on implementing this, this, and this. You already, once you have those routine content, all that stuff in your head of an ideal school day, you can go ahead and plug whatever they're asking you into whatever your ideal school day or class lesson will look like. So that is it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed and you guys do great in your interviews. And if you get a job, go ahead and let me know down in the comments below as well. But that is it for this video. I want you guys to remember that no matter what, you would be where you're supposed to be. Like, God will have you where you're supposed to be, there, what students you're supposed to teach, all of that. So be confident in that. Also show confidence in yourself. Let them know that you're prepared to be a great teacher and you are an effective teacher and you can implement change and carry a classroom responsibly and effectively. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and don't forget to create a great day because you have the ability and the choice to do that. But go ahead and watch these other videos right here. Go ahead and watch those. I'll see you guys in those videos. Peace.